What is up, my friends? You're very welcome along, and your weekend has now officially started. It's Friday night's late night agenda. Look, I'm coming in hot this evening, folks, because I'm annoyed. I'm very, very annoyed, as I'm sure you've probably gathered from earlier on the video that I put out today. The Andy Robertson situation is one that has me quite simply fuming. Now, I have to say, I do differentiate between how I view Andy Robertson and how I view the idea from the club. I have nothing but respect for Andy Robertson and fully appreciate and understand the possibility of him wanting to move on. That doesn't, however, take away from the fact that we are intentionally worsening ourselves for the remainder of the season. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to run through the Deloitte Money League and what that means going forward for the Reds and for football in general. We'll talk about the idea of bringing Costas back and quite how stupid an idea that is, as well as the hypocrisy that surrounds decision making at our football club. We'll lay it all out, we'll discuss it, and we'll see what you guys are thinking. To kick us off tonight, I asked a very simple question in the poll. Are you concerned about our squad depth? Because it looks like that squad depth is about to get a little bit worse. So, I want to just start off by saying this. We hear our manager come out and say that we cannot bring back Harvey Elliott because he's an Aston Villa player and there's no clause in the contract that allows us to cancel that deal. Whilst a week later, we see in the media that there's no clause in Costa's contract, but he's doing so poorly at Roma that they're more than happy to entertain a conversation about bringing Costas back to Liverpool. So why, as a Liverpool fan, I'm supposed to sit here looking at our vice-captain potentially leaving the club to go to Spurs in a decision that I ultimately respect from Andy Robertson's point of view, and I've no ill feeling towards him. But as a fan, I'm sitting here going, right, so our vice-captain's on the way out the door. Another leader and another multifaceted player who can play in a few positions. And what are we replacing that with? Somebody we've already decided wasn't good enough and isn't good enough to get into a Roma team. Now, you can say this as backup and that's absolutely fine. But what does happen if we have an injury to Milos Kerkez and we've got Costas to play for the next 3 months? We aren't improving our chances or the probabilities of us going to win a Champions League this season. We're decreasing it. Nothing about what is happening right now is making any fucking sense. Make no mistake about it. Rather than going into the transfer market to strengthen, we've suddenly found the world where we may be worsening. It was bad enough sitting back while we watched Manchester City sign Antoine Semenyo and Mark Gay. Now we sit here seeing Andy Robertson maybe departing to Spurs mid-season? Come on. This doesn't smell right. This doesn't feel right. And one thing that's come up today over and over in conversation with Liverpool fans that I've had is a confusion. An absolute state of confusion. And that one underlying question. Is there something going on behind the scenes? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have all the answers to it. But it doesn't feel right. And nothing about letting Andy Robertson go mid-season without a total top-notch replacement coming in makes me feel like this club are aiming for success. Now, I do have to say that I do believe that Andy Robertson has earned the right to decide upon his own future and the future of him and his family. So I do respect that decision. But from our perspective, where's the looking out for us here? We're mid-season. If Rob had wanted to go the end of the season when his contract is up, or he had wanted to go in the summer, fine. Mid-season? To a competitor? Are you fucking serious? Our club are entertaining this. I mean, I don't know what to say. There cannot be an excuse that justifies weakening ourselves in a transfer window. We've got injury upon injury upon injury and we're still going out there and making it worse. Let me just run this through for you. Liverpool's contract situation right now, credit Anfield sector for this post, is Andy Robertson, whose contract's up in 2026 and looks like he's going to join Spurs in this window. We've Ibrahim Kanade, whose contract is up at the end of the season. And then we've got Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Gomez and Costas, who are all up in 2027. But what makes it even worse is when you look at the amount of defenders that Liverpool would have available to them. Senior defenders for the remainder of this season if we move Andy Robertson on. This is a stupid decision made by people who are infuriating fans at this point. If anybody thinks that this is a good idea, please feel free to put it into the comments. We'll discuss it. But right now, I'm sitting here thinking, why are we making ourselves worse midway through a season? What is the upside to us as a football club of doing what we're doing? There's no talk of anybody coming in. There's no talk of a centre-back. But we're about to stand by and watch Andy Robertson, our vice-captain, a leader for his country, somebody who can play left-back and at centre-back at a push. And we're about to say bye-bye to bring back in Costas, who can't get a game at Roma. I mean, make it make sense. And I'm supposed to sit here and believe that our club are doing everything for success. That they aren't writing off the season. I mean, come on, lads. This is getting silly now. Right, Kirk's knees will be gone before the summer. Look, exactly, Tanya. All we're doing now is just increasing workload. We're going to have to play Milos Kirkes into the ground, and we've no backup. If Kirkes is having one of his off days, we've no experience, top quality left back to come in, because Costas has never been that. And Costas was never going to be that. This just smacks of stupidity. It really, really does. And like I said, no ill feeling towards Robbo. I understand that he will look for a decision for him and his family. But our football club also have to make sure they look after our own interests. And as I've said before, we can't keep writing off seasons. It's getting ridiculous now. Double L Lion said, selling Robbo and getting back Costas is like swapping a can of Coke for a Panda Pop. Low on defenders, let's sell one instead of buying one. Hope you're well. I'm not really great, mate, to be honest with you. And today I've been dreading coming on because I'm so worried about what I'm going to say. I'm so worried about how angry I'm going to get and what's going to come out of my mouth that I'm kind of fearful for the stream. Because it's just getting beyond the pale now. It's ridiculous. Team unchanged tomorrow, courtesy if you'll never walk alone, Reds. Look, if you want to plug somebody that nobody's ever fucking heard of, crack on with the You'll Never Walk Alone Reds. But nobody knows the team for tomorrow. We can guess at it, and we can reckon it's probably going to be slightly unchanged. But ultimately, nobody knows that, and anyone that's claiming to know the team sheet for tomorrow is full of shit. So we can move on from that one, courtesy of me. Feckin' Simicus, he's so bad, I'm done, said Sonder. I mean, just make it make sense, bro. Please make it make sense. Not good enough, shipped out to Roma on loan. Failing on loan at Roma. Roma! But yet suddenly good enough to come in to be a deputy for us for the remainder of the season. Remember again, let's go back to the summer. Liverpool Football Club are assembling a squad to be able to compete across every competition without fall off. And we're now sitting back as we willfully pull apart our own squad? And we're supposed to be happy about this? Or accept this? It's nonsense. Anyone say no to this poll is mad or trolling? Yeah, it's the trolling part, mate. Don't worry. Because nobody is thinking our squad depth is good enough. Nobody. And we'll run through the numbers. Maybe Keane or Connor could send this on to me. There was a post. Oh no, here it is. I have it. So here we go. With Andy Robertson leaving and Leone and Bradley injured, Canade absent, Liverpool's available senior defenders right now are this: Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez, Milos Kerkez and Jeremy Frimpong. Now we'll be adding back in, obviously, Ibrahim Canade soon. But that's it. You've got 5 senior defenders right across your back line for the remainder of the season. Fucking tickety-boo, boys. Great work. You're really earning those contracts you're paid the big bucks on. Nothing to see here. No problems. Come on. God, it's so bad. It's so bad. So we asked, are you worried about squad depth? We're going to keep that one up and see what you guys are thinking. And we're probably going to see, what, 2, 3, 4 million for Andy Robertson, something like that. And again, from Robbo's point, I get it. For him and his family, I do understand it. Like, I've no anger towards Robertson because he knows long term at Liverpool that he's probably not going to be the guy and it's going to be Kerkez. I get that. No doubt he's had a conversation with the manager. But what I don't get is how we're willing to just sit back for another 6 months now or 5 months as Robbo goes and we bring back in Costas. Again, we're rolling that dice that we're not going to pick up many injuries. But if we do pick up an injury, we're fucked. Quite simply. Proper fucked. Jamie said Robbo leaving means more fight and passion leaving the club. Disgrace. He's a legend. Look, again, I truly, and I mean this with sincerely, I have no ill feeling towards Andy Robertson whatsoever. I just can't understand how we're allowing it to happen mid-season. This has baffled me. Like, if we'd gone out and signed a left back that we thought was going to come in and compete for the future with Milos Kerkez and Robbo Went, different conversation. But we haven't done that. Nor do we look likely to be doing that, because there's no reports to suggest we're in for anyone. So it looks like we're downgrading ourselves intentionally, and somehow we're trying to still stay optimistic as fans, or we're supposed to believe that everybody at the club is really building for success this year. Again, I think we're being taken for idiots. Richard had to do was sign and bring in squad depth. Yeah, and he hasn't done that. The manager's moaning about injuries in the small squad at the same time, which is, again, absolute nonsense. He's kind of laughing again today about low blocks. It is... I really just don't understand what's going on at our football club. It doesn't... Look, where's the succession planning? Once again, we're having a conversation about a lack of depth in an area where we had great depth. It's craziness. And look, I'm going to say this very clearly. Costas ain't good enough. He was never good enough, and he never will be good enough. Good guy, decent fella, but not good enough. So why are we weakening ourselves intentionally mid-season? And why is it that we can somehow find a deal to bring a player without a release clause back from Roma when it suits, but we couldn't do the same for Harvey Elliott? You know, the same Harvey Elliott that we fucked over by sending to Aston Villa, who's now getting splinters on his arse, and Villa won't play him. But I hear that we can't because there's no clause in there. So it seems more like we're unwilling to try to help Harvey Elliott out and get him back to a club or show a duty of care. But we can do it for Costas. Because what? There's 3 or 4 million on the table for Robertson? It's a disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace. And it feels like they're doing everything possible to take every bit of positivity out of this fucking season. Camoli did a better job than Hughes. Edwards got sacked, said Lee Duffield. Ollie said, I honestly think this is all about getting a good deal for Van de Ven. Really? Really? Come on, dude. You think if we give them Andy Robertson a few months early, that they're going to give us a good deal on Van de Ven? Come on. Once again, we're left in a situation where we have to hypothesize that there's some big master plan. It's right up there with the conversation of what if Slot wins the Champions League, will everything be magically better? We're once again as fans asked to put ourselves in a position of trust for people who've shown that they don't deserve it. We're weakening ourselves mid-season. We're doing the exact opposite of every other club chasing success. I've watched that Crossing Merchant enough. Please, not anymore. Thought we were done with him. 3 million also. Probably cost more bringing him back. Shite. Look, if Andy Robertson wants to agree a deal with Spurs to go in the summer and Liverpool had time 6 months to plan for a proper left back to come in, fair enough. But we've somehow got to a point where we're going to let it happen. And now they're trying to dress it up as if Robbo will be in the squad tomorrow and he'll be in the squad for the game against Karabag. So we're doing it on our terms, like Antoine Semenyo at Bournemouth. Like, that's going to make us fans feel any better. Yes, Andy Robertson will get a good send-off, and that's absolutely well-deserved. But come on. Where are the journalists asking the fucking questions? Where are you? Where are the questions about actual ambition this season? How is this a good move? The only answer is that it isn't. There's nothing about this that benefits us. Nothing. Saunders said, Craig, man, I'm losing my head. This is embarrassing. Dude, I promise you, you're not on your own. I was on the phone with Connor earlier on, and you know when you're that stage of angry that you're laughing at your own outlandish statements. That's where I was at. I'm sitting back here thinking, have we got Ralph Wiggum running transfers? Like, what is going on, lads? Please, anyone, somebody give me a sensible answer. We shouldn't let Robbo go, but I'd hardly call Spurs competitors. Would you not? Are they not in the Champions League now? They're not going through to the knockout stages of the Champions League, so they're not competitors. Are they not going to be fighting for a Champions League position next season? So we're not calling them competitors now. I call them competitors because they're in the same competitions as us. And again, why are we willfully strengthening a rival? If Robbo wants to go, again, like I said, he's earned that right. But where's the side of this that's looking after Liverpool's interests? Three-striped Liverbird said, hi Craig, do you think we saw Robbo because of no place in Alonso's style of play next season and the club thinks we can make Champions League with the current squad? Let's just think about that on its own for a second. So basically how I interpret that is, do the club need 3 million badly enough to gamble to get into next season's Champions League on a hypothetical for a player whose contract was up anyway and wouldn't have had to have been part of Alonso's system next season if that was the way? Because Costas ain't coming back in to be a hero. Costas ain't coming back in to be part of the club's long-term vision because his own deal is up in 1 year. So all of it makes no sense. Like, I think we'll all agree we've weakened ourselves in that trade, right? If we can all agree with that, then where's the sensible play in this? 60s Red said, no first team signings this window. Robbo proves it. It's absolutely astonishing to me, lads. Astonishing. Of all the things on the bingo card that I didn't think I'd be talking about this week, it's Spurs getting Robbo and looking at Curtis Jones, because we'll talk about that in a bit as well. Tony, how are you, Tony? Said, we're going backwards rather than forwards. Much love. Dude, it's, you know the way we talked about a disconnect? And I said yesterday, and I was open, and it was probably one of the most emotional streams I've done in a long time, where I spoke about how I struggled with the mixed feelings I'm having around Liverpool. And many of you said you feel similarly. How can we as Liverpool fans look at this situation from the club's perspective and a fan's perspective and think this is a good thing? Or think it isn't weakening us? It's madness. It's madness. For what? A few million? It can't be about the money. It can't be about the fucking money. It just makes no sense. There will be some apologists out there covering our club that try to dress this up with something like, Robbo wants more game time before the World Cup, yada, yada, yada. Something like that. And honestly, he would have gotten enough game time to be ticking him over. And he doesn't want to be burnt out for the World Cup either. So he wants to make sure he's in prime condition with Scotland. So that even doesn't weigh up for me. Again, fully respect Robbo's ability and desire to look after his family. I get it. But surely the end of the season is a sensible play, where you just don't renew and let Robbo make that decision. Now, when we're just about getting ourselves into the last 8 or the top 8 of the Champions League, when we're in a real fight for Champions League qualification and we've done this and are doing this to ourselves, even entertaining it is ridiculous. Totally Not Wellington said, hi Craig, all I can say is it's madness. Nothing from this benefits us. What annoys me is the usual journals not questioning this, but Roma don't want Costas to stay. That should tell us everything. Exactly, man. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? We got rid of Costas on loan because we knew he wasn't part of Liverpool's long-term plan. And Roma had zero interest in making it permanent. and don't want them. And yet I'm supposed to sit here as a Liverpool fan thinking this is better for our team. That getting rid of the Scottish national team captain, a leader in our dressing room, a man who's been there and won it all with us, at a time where we're suffering an injury and an identity crisis as a team. I'm supposed to believe that taking one more fucking leader out of that dressing room is a good thing. These journalists best step up and do their fucking jobs. Because if you sit back and once again watch your club take the piss out of you and all of us, it's game over. It's game over. Robbo on playing time, fair, but getting him back and not saying a class young player for the future, another sticking plaster. We are cheap. Exactly. There's no succession planning, bro. That's it. Nobody begrudges Andy Robertson a move. We all love Robertson dearly, and I know I speak for us all. We love Andy Robertson to bits. And I sincerely wish him and his family nothing but the very best, and I have no ill will towards him whatsoever. But how do we let this happen? We've talked so many times over the past couple of years about succession planning and how we haven't done it. We haven't done it with Mo. We haven't done it with Virgil. And now we haven't done it with Andy Robertson. We've brought in one new left back, yes. And he will be our left back for the future. But where's the competition? Are we going to go through another one where Milos Kerkez knows now he's playing every single week because the lad that's challenging him ain't good enough? How many times have we spoke about being in this lovely position where on the left-hand side we've got the balanced experience of Andy Robertson and the youthful exuberance of Milos Kerkez? And on the right-hand side, we've got Frimpong and Bradley. Now, Bradley's unfortunately been out with an injury now. So we're already a full-back down. We're a centre-back down because of an injury. We're another centre-back down because of his father sadly passing away at the moment. And we're not bringing one in. So what we do? We'll go and weaken ourselves at left-back because that makes loads of sense. If any other club did this, we'd all be laughing at them. How are we supposed to believe that we want success this season with what's going on? Nothing about the way we're acting screams that we, one, believe in this coach, or two, actually give a shit about this season. As long as we scrape into the Champions League and get that money. And we'll talk about how important that money is in a bit because I want to run through all the Deloitte Money League stuff with you. So settle in because this is going to be a long one tonight because I have a lot to get through. And of course, I want to make sure that you guys have your say as well. Jorge said, we need a refresh in the back line. Ali, Virgil, Rob are well over 30 now. It hurts to lose Robbo, but might make sense long term. No, mate, just no. Because like I've said, are we bringing one in? So nobody's arguing the long-term play here, Jorge, or George. Excuse me, mate, I'm still not sure which one to pronounce correctly. No one's arguing about the long-term play. Like, we've known that there was a question about Andy Robertson that needed to be answered longer term. But nobody thought we'd be sitting here talking about this halfway through the season. And that we may lose Andy Robertson now. At a time where we're devastated across the back line anyway. So, again, if we were to go down that thought process the way you have, where's the left back we're bringing in? You know, we're putting a stick and plaster on it in putting Costas back in. Someone who we've already admitted isn't good enough. So, again, I understand it and I understand the desire to think that there's a bigger plan because there must be a bigger plan. But again, how does that benefit us in the here and now to try and challenge for this season? It doesn't. It only weakens us. Saunders said, January window for Liverpool. Let's see how shit we can get. So we seen the stuff the other day about Mark Gay, 35 million, and the Harvey Elliott loan, and both of them falling apart at the same time. And that coincidental, then we don't go in for Mark Gay in January. And now we're starting to get rid of players like Robbo. So here's something that hasn't been discussed, by the way, in this conversation so far about Andy Robertson. And this is where I want to have my say on it. It's also clearing another huge wage off the books. Remember that. This is another way of saving big money. Robbo's on, I think, about 180, something like that. So this would be another few million off the wage book. And we've just seen the release of the fact that Liverpool are the highest payers of wages for the 24-25 season. And now we're starting to see those high wages moved off the books bit by bit, but not mid-season. I could accept it in the summer, no problem. But not fucking mid-season. Are we that cheap? Andrew said there will be no backup defenders. Perhaps Salah can fill in at left back. What is going on? FFS. And firstly, Andrew, thank you, mate, for being with us as a member for 25 months. Appreciate that. We have adequate cover with Endo, yeah. Yeah, Endo, who also wanted out, by the way. So, Paul Joy said, Spurs are willing to pay a fee of around £3 million plus add-ons for Liverpool's Andy Robertson. 3 million. That's what this is worth to the Reds. And the wages saved. Which is what? If he's on 180 grand a week, that's about 4 million, 4.5 million in wages roughly, I think, if my maths is right, saved over half the season. And the fee. And would probably, as somebody said, have to pay to bring back in Costas. So there'll probably be an agreement there. It's just baffling. I've never ever felt so disconnected from my own club. Never. It's just, it feels like every day you get up now and something else is happening. So Chiesa, somebody mentioned Chiesa and his wages. Well, for the weekend, he's 50-50 to be available for the game. This piece on Sky said the forward missed the midweek Champions League win over Marseille, and Arne Slot said he'll be assessed after training on Friday. We don't expect him to be out for long. There are no new injury concerns for midweek. Calvin Ramsey, who was not in Liverpool's Champions League squad, is available, but Canade could miss the match at Bournemouth following the passing of his father. Hughes, mate, this ain't Bournemouth. Signed someone, said Sonder. Does anybody have a genuine, sincere, positive take on this that they'd like to share? Or an angle that maybe we're missing out on here that you guys would like to put across in the defence of the situation? Because I genuinely wish that there was something that somebody could say to me that I go, okay, yeah, maybe there's some sense to it. But really, sitting here now, just anger. Just blunt anger. Nat, I really don't give a shite about your shower habits, with all due respect, mate, in the chat, and whether your fiance thinks that you're a tramp or not. I mean, that's the topic you want to have a discussion about right now when we're talking about Robbo leaving the football club, is you want to have a discussion about your shower habits. That's one I'm kindly going to pass up on, sir, and I'll let you and your fiance figure that one out between yous. Well, Arnold has no future anymore in Madrid, so we should be getting him back, playing him at right back, Frimpong ahead of him and Salah playing in a more centralised position. So this is now where we're at. All is forgiven, Trenty Poo, come home. No, not for me, mate. Trent made his bed, and it's a whole lot of his fucking problem. What's going on? Now ask yourself this question for those who are saying get Trent back. Do you think they're going to hand him back for the 10 million euro he paid for him? Or do you think they're going to look for 60, 70 million pound? Are we Manchester United here? Letting Pogba go to Juventus for next to nothing and buying him back for 80 million quid? Is that the level of stupidity that we've gone to? And that's before we get into the fact that he's... before we get into the position of strong animosity that many of us feel towards the way he acted in that decision. So no, mate, Trent can fuck right off. as can the idea of bringing him back. I would take Trent back. Would you? Cool. So I'm going to sit here and you take Trent back, right? So you'd pay 60 or 70 million pound for Trent, would you? And that's fine with you. Let him leave the club, stick 2 fingers up, lie to the fan base, fuck off to Madrid, fail miserably under 2 coaches, and then you'd be grand about us going out and paying a load of dough to bring him back in. That would have to go down as one of the most brain-dead decisions in football history if we did that. And also, how do you think that would impact Jeremy Frimpong and Conor Bradley and others at the club? Whatever happens to Trent at Madrid, fair fucking play. It's his own problem. But no, don't want him back near Liverpool Football Club. And people saying for free. Do you really think Madrid are going to give up money? Are you that naive to think that Madrid are going to go, sure, Jesus, it hasn't worked out here. And sure, we know we've got a 60 or 70 million pound player on our hands, but sure, let's just give him back to Liverpool for 10 million euro, because that's how football works. Come on. Minus 27 in Canada. The news is not warming. I think Liverpool have lost its marbles. Love your channel, Craig. Vent away. I feel your pain. Thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate you letting me vent, because that's how I feel today. Is anger. Just pure, unadulterated, fuck the world anger. That's how I feel today. And I'm almost at the point where I'm going to have to just stick to member chat or something, because I can see I'm being baited in the chat and people coming in. And I get it. Like, people coming in to just wind us up a bit. I get it. Pretending to be Liverpool fans. I get it happens. But today really isn't the fucking day. Today's not the day. Does this indicate Mo could be sold next? Well, on that, actually. I get what you're saying, Craig, but we took Ian Rush back. Anything is possible. No, it's not. It's not possible. Unless you want to pay 60 or 70 million pound. And if Liverpool pay 60 or 70 million pound for Trent Alexander-Arnold, we are idiots. We will be a laughing stock and idiots. Do I say idiots? Yes. Have I said idiots enough? Because we'd be idiots. Idiots. Absolute idiots. Morons of the highest quality. There should be a new phrase for us if we do that. There should be a super moron territory that we go into. And that's before we get into the fact that the slimy little fuck lied to us all to get his dream move to Madrid, that everybody and their father and the dog and the goldfish and the auntie and the auntie's cousin's nephew's dog all told him it was going to not happen for him. All told him it wouldn't work out. I said it, you said it, everyone said it. And shock horror hasn't worked out. Why should we suffer financially for him? Fuck him. This feels more like poor management, and this is exposing how bad Slot is with player management, how bad he is. I honestly, normally you'd look at it and you could try to figure out the thought process. And what Jorge said, or what George said earlier on, is probably the play. The play here is probably that they want Robertson to go now and will get somebody in the future. So that's probably the play. But it's not the sensible play. Because if we're truly to believe that Liverpool Football Club think they're going to win stuff this season, then you need to give yourself every chance to do that. Every sporting chance to do that. We spoke the other day before the Marseille game, and Liverpool, according to the stats, had a 6% chance to win the Champions League. Now, we've beaten Marseille, and that will absolutely increase that chance because it will push us into the top 8. But we're still talking about a minuscule chance. And to do that, what do we say you need? Depth, a bit of luck, and experience. And here we are then today, talking about getting rid of our vice-captain, his country's captain, somebody who has experience coming out the ears, to bring back a player that can't get a game at Roma. And that is supposed to be looked at as a sporting decision to push us in the right direction to win trophies right now. Because if we don't admit that, that we've weakened it, we're idiots. And then we also have to admit that they are underwriting the write-off of another fucking season. Another season. And again, people are already starting to try to justify it by saying, but what about in the summer? Maybe this means they're undermining Arne. Then fire Arne. Do you know what I mean? Like, if all of these decisions are pointing to Arne not being good enough anyway, then why the fuck is he still here? Who'll be the backup for Costas? Milos got injured now for 4 weeks. Endo, Jones, Ramsey, Williams. Gomez is probably the answer. Gomez is probably going to be the cover at either side. There's every chance, folks, that we end this season with Costas at left back because Kirkes is injured, with one of our two centre-backs out, and relying on Gomez to cover right across the back line and praying to whatever God you believe in that he doesn't pick up an injury. And then we have the idea of, Canade still doesn't want to be here and hasn't signed a new deal. Like, it just doesn't add up. How does any of this help us? For now. Would Robbo be cup tied for the FA Cup and the Champions League? I don't know the answer in the FA Cup. The Champions League, no, because once you get to the knockout phase, it's a new squad that has to be put in. So after the league format, you will register a new squad then after the window closes for the Champions League knockout phases. So no, he wouldn't be cup tied in that. Don't know the answer in the FA Cup because I don't even remember. Did he play? I can't remember if he played for us in the FA Cup game against Barnsley the other week or not. But either way, I don't know the answer. Saunders said, we've not had one complete window in my lifetime. Maybe last summer. Then Arthur, Kabak, Davies, Adrian. Now I'm back. Smallest big club in transfers. How can I, as a fan, accept that a player who isn't good enough for Roma is good enough to come back in and help us to potentially win a Champions League if we need it? Please try and explain that to me, because I can't for the life of me figure it out. And even if I was Arne, like, if we're supposed to believe that the manager isn't annoyed by this, like, who's made this decision? Because I can't imagine for 1 second that Slot likes the idea of it, of losing Andy Robertson. Kirkes is his guy. There's no doubt about that. He brought in Kirkes. That's his guy. But we have a really good, experienced, international calibre. And I know Costas plays internationals, but I mean super experienced, regular player. David said Roma play a back three. David, with all due respect, David, mate, Roma brought him on loan. So how they play, they would have known before they brought in Costas. So he would have been playing as a wing back, I'm sure, in their system if he had have played. But either way, mate, they came to us asking for the loan. And we admitted in that moment that Costas ain't good enough. And he's also not been good enough at Roma because Gasperini doesn't want to play him. So, again, I ask, how is this helping our football club to win stuff this season? So, this in from Dave O.C. Cop. Spurs are believed to still have a keen interest in Curtis Jones despite signing Conor Gallagher. Jones has featured regularly this season for Liverpool but may be interested in the new challenge. At the moment, it's believed that Spurs will be willing with an opening offer of £30 million and Liverpool would likely seek more. One to watch, especially if Wharton to Liverpool interest picks up. Now, yesterday I said to you guys that if we do go out and bring in a number 6, we probably have to sacrifice a midfielder. Remember we had this conversation yesterday? And we hypothesised whether that would be Alexis McAllister or not. At least in that decision, if it was a all in this window situation where we sold Curtis Jones and brought in Adam Wharton, at least you could understand it. Not saying you have to agree with it, but at least you could think, But we're bringing in a 6 to get out a number 8. I can understand that as much as I disagree with it, because I like having that Scouse heartbeat in the team, and I think Jones has come on. And I also think £30 million isn't a huge fee. I think he's worth more than that. Sabo Peterson said, I forgot to add in my previous super chat that I'm pissed. I don't blame you, bro. I really don't. What do you think of Dele Alli being linked to my Irish club Bohemians? Love the channel, and Liverpool seriously lack defensive options. Have for a while. It would be incredibly interesting if Dele Alli came over to play for Bows. I know that Jordan Rossiter, I think, is down at Waterford, if I'm not mistaken, mate. But look at him, that shines a light on Irish football and the League of Ireland, like Duffer did when he was at Chelsea. Brilliant. Do you know, if Dele Alli could find a way to get some football in his legs at Bohemians, that would be fucking amazing for the league. And certainly would draw a lot of attention. I mean, heck, I'd probably go watch a Bows game as a Shelbourne fan, even if Dele Alli came into the league. So yeah, it'd be a brilliant bit of business if they could do it. But I don't know how it works financially. But you know, if it was possible for the League of Ireland, great stuff. Oliver said, predict Liverpool for the coming 5 years. Do you think we dominate? Do I think we dominate? No. I think we will be competitive because we do have a decent squad. It's not deep enough, but yes, like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not happy with the players that are at our football club, but I just can't understand decisions like this one today. Someone said, Craigie, is the Costas return plans actually being confirmed by a reliable source? I think it's complete BS. Well, let's run through some of that. It's a fair question. Let's run through some of the news there on that today. Sorry, I have so many things in my chat. So Fabrizio Romano said, AS Roma have already given the green light for Costas to return to Liverpool. So I think we can put that one down as a reliable source. You know, Romano and Italian football, you know, there ain't many better connected there, like, so. And then Ben Jacobs said Liverpool set to approach Roma to recall Kostas Tsimikas if Andy Robertson moves to Spurs. Robbo has told Liverpool he's keen on a move to Spurs. No formal recall clause in Kostas' loan, but sources close to the player made it clear he wants to return to Liverpool. So that's Ben Jacobs and Romano. So I think we can safely say yes, reliable with regards to the journalists that we're talking about. Here's another one that I don't think will happen, but if it does, it would really worry me. So this piece here from James Ollie said, Arsenal are exploring the possibility of launching a summer move for Julian Alvarez from Atletico Madrid. Atletico demand a fee in excess of €100 million this summer, which would work out at about £86 million if they are willing to sell at all. Barcelona are also in the mix, but it's unlikely they'd be able to compete at those prices. Now, the information's always been that Julian Alvarez doesn't want to come back to play in the Premier League. It was information that was there when we were looking at him. It was information that was there when he was leaving Manchester City. But, and I don't know, this is me just thinking out loud, maybe London is a different situation. I don't know for him. Maybe it was, you know, up at the other side of the UK, he wasn't too happy living there. I don't know, because I don't know Julian Alvarez. But if Arsenal get him, and it's a big if, but if they were to get him, fuck me, that would be concerning. I'd sell Gakpo and use that money for a centre-back, said Shane Hughes. Well, on that, let's talk about Gakpo. Let me just get to the Cody Gakpo report. Sorry, so many things to go through. Bayern space, I've said. Bayern Munich are exploring left-wing options after Yandy Amonde's rejection, with Cody Gakpo a name repeatedly discussed internally. Max Erbel is a big fan, and Bayern believe the Bundesliga would suit him. No talks yet, but €75 million is seen as feasible. So I want to come in to talk about that for a second. So let me end this poll where I asked, are you worried about our squad depth? 89% said yes, 11% said no. And I take that 11% with a big pinch of salt. One second. There we go. So here's a question on the Cody Gakpo situation. Would you sell Cody Gakpo for €75 million / 65 million pound, because roughly the same, in the summer? Yes or no? I'm very interested to see the answer to this. And I did put in the summer, by the way, because surely even we can't be stupid enough to entertain it in the winter window when we don't have another left-sided player that the manager will give minutes to. Robbo is a way better option than Tsimikas. Makes zero sense to sell him now. Exactly, Aaron. Look, I can understand that Andy Robertson will be up for the challenge and up for the idea of going. And I hold no ill feeling against Andy Robertson whatsoever for that. How could I? I love the man to bits. But how is it beneficial to us? Right? Because what we're seeing out of it is £3 million plus the savings of his wages. So is it really worth £7.5 million benefit? And again, we're going to have to pay Costas to bring him back and probably pay a small fee. But even if not, we're paying Costas wages. So is it really worth, let's say, the upside of £3.5 million to get rid of Robbo now and not in the summer when his contract's up? Which would feel like a far more natural end to it all than selling him on the cheap in January to a side that are already in the Champions League and competing with us. So I can understand how he'd be up for the challenge. Of course I can. But it could wait till the summer. Because again, if Spurs are serious about wanting them, then they surely want them in the longer term anyway. So how does it benefit us selfishly doing it now? And that I just cannot figure out. I'm seething that the Robbo deal is being considered. The Liverpool hierarchy are writing off the season, or they're total idiots. Only explanation, said Martin Lawrence. And if we're writing off the season, again, they won't ever admit that publicly. But again, how are we supposed to think that we're really going all out for it? By weakening ourselves intentionally at a time where we already don't have enough defenders. This should, like we spoke at the start of this window about Liverpool strengthening defensively in this window, not weakening. Eddie Cox-Wilkins said the club's going down the toilet. We're here now, 23rd of January. Remember the end of August? Do you remember how we sat here at the end of August, all of us? Started the league unbeaten. Delighted with the window that we had. Hopeful that we're going to get Mark A done in the coming days at the end of that August. And looking ahead and talking about domination. And talking about competing across Champions League, Premier League. Every competition. That this club was being built for success. For an era of domination. Now fast forward to January. We're 4th in the Premier League. 6 or 7 points behind the third place team. We're doing what we should be doing in the Champions League. So, credit there. We've thrown away the League Cup because we couldn't be bothered. And we're in the FA Cup. And let's see how that goes. That's not the dream. That's not what's supposed to be happening this season. That's not what this was all supposed to be about. It feels like everything that you guys are saying about writing off another season, maybe for a bigger long-term plan. But that doesn't help the fans. You don't get a refund of your season ticket. You don't have to stop paying your membership. You don't have to stop paying your TV subscription. You can't write off a season financially or emotionally like the club can, as long as we trickle into the Champions League. And again, even at that, how is this improving our chances to do that? Because it's by no means a certainty that we qualify for the Champions League. It's probable. It's highly likely. But are we giving ourselves the best chance to do that? Even if we woke up tomorrow and seen that Liverpool were in for another left back, it still makes no sense to me in a season where we talk about the changing of the guard. We have Andy Robertson, that experienced head, teaching the young Costas. It's a perfect situation. We've got one of the best up-and-coming fullbacks in Europe, and then we've got a senior fullback who's been there and won it all. So we've got a beautiful situation that works both ways for us. So even if we are bringing in another left back, it's going to be a deputy left back, and they won't be as good as Andy Robertson. There's just no hope. Nor will they have that connection, nor will they have the spirit and the fight and the determination that Robbo has. It's just weakening us, and it's stupid. The Lolly said, so happy to be here. Keep up the good work. Thank you, bro. Joey, how are you, Joey? Said, I'm concerned as I don't see what's happening here. It makes no sense, and we're giving up opportunities with no common sense. It's brain dead stuff. So, Joey, if I was to really, say, talk out loud with some of the stuff I internalise, mate, I'd be asking myself, is this some kind of sadomasochistic punishment for us fans for something? In some fucking weird way? Like, or were we so reliant on that money for Harvey Elliott that we're having to scrape the barrel now to try to find any money elsewhere? Like, there's so much of this, Joey, to me, that just, like yourself, mate, doesn't make sense and concerns me. Yeah. There's just... in one sense, I'm relieved, because I sat there all day thinking, there must be an angle on this that I don't see. And when I come on tonight, somebody will hopefully have a reason or a link or something that starts to see how this makes some sense. But there isn't one, because we're all feeling the same, which is, at the very least, confused, and at the other end of the spectrum, furious. And I'm very much in the furious camp. Weakening a threadbare defence, season written off, said Sean. So let's talk about money for a minute, because money has been a huge part of the conversation that we've had. So I think it's important to give us some context to look at where football's at financially and where we're at. So Deloitte released their Money League. I went through the article yesterday, and it's a brilliant article, and I'd advise you all, if you get a chance, to go over read it for yourself. It's quite a long one, but there's plenty of great information in there. So I went through and I cherry-picked what I thought would be the relevant points for us to discuss on tonight's show. So, €12.4 billion is new record revenues generated by the clubs in the 2026 Football Money League. 11% growth on revenue generated in the 2025 Football Money League clubs. Average matchday broadcast and commercial revenue generated by Money League clubs has climbed again. The average now is over €620 million across the clubs in the Deloitte Money League. I'm going to go into the numbers in a bit more detail now for you. For the third consecutive year, commercial revenue represented the most significant proportion of total revenue for Money League clubs, generating an average of $265 million, up from $244 million previously. The key drivers for this growth included improved retail performance, increasing sponsorship revenue, as well as the use of stadiums and surroundings on non-match days. The latter represents a significant shift in the business models of certain clubs to focus greater utilisation of stadia assets through a diversified entertainment offering. On-site breweries, restaurants, hotels and other offerings are therefore becoming more common, demonstrating the importance to clubs of broadening revenue generating opportunities. Matchday revenue for Money League clubs hit record levels of €2.4 billion. And the fourth year in a row represents the revenue stream with the highest proportional growth rate for Money League clubs. So these are the clubs that made it into the Deloitte Money League, of which we are one. Clubs' increased efforts to improve matchday experiences, coupled with the use of other revenue drivers, such as personal seat licenses, have been key in developing this growth. Now, if you don't know what a personal seat license is, I'll let you look into that fuckery in your own time. But it is an absolute piss take that has been brought across from America and starting to be used in European football. La Liga, Barcelona, Real Madrid, new stadium developments, personal seat licenses being issued. Look it up if you have the time. It's an interesting one. So then we looked at leagues that have had failures recently and are falling backwards. And French First Division faced headwinds as they commenced new domestic broadcast rights agreements in 24-25. Serie A's new domestic deals for live and non-live league and cup competitions saw their average rights value fall by 3%, excluding any potential revenue share element, hindering clubs' growth. So Serie A are weakened at the minute. So again, just showing once again the Premier League's power and financial might is there. Meanwhile, the value of the French First Division's new domestic agreements for the 24-25 season were down 20%. 20% lower than the previous cycle. The subsequent termination by mutual agreement of the DAZN deal, which included 8 live matches per weekend, saw the French leagues launch direct-to-consumer offering at the start of the 25-26 season. And that's why I've brought this up, because this is something that I've talked about. I think it was Simon Jordan mentioned it initially, is that will we ever get to a point where we do have that direct-to-consumer sale of Premier League television rights? This piece here goes on to say, this will negatively impact French clubs' broadcast revenues in the short to medium term, but does see the French First Division become the first major European league to adopt a direct-to-consumer approach, and we'll watch with interest to see in the long term this represents good or bad business, and the others may follow. The FIFA Club World Cup clubs have strong representation in this year's Money League, with 10 of the clubs having participated. This includes Benfica, resulting in the Portuguese club featuring for the very first time since 05-06 and being the first non-Big Five league entrant since Zenit St. Petersburg. So again, they're seeing that those who took part in this Club World Cup made massive money off, and we spoke about it being worth over $100 million to Chelsea. Do you ever wonder how much the Liverpool women's team generates? I didn't go looking for this information, it was in the article. Liverpool's women's team generated a total revenue of €7.3 million, which is up from €5.7 million in 2024. And of that, 5.9 million of that 7.3 million revenue came from commercial contributions. Matchday only equated for 0.6% of their revenue. Broadcasting 0.6 million, my apologies, €0.6 million. Broadcasting €0.8 million, and then 5.9 million from commercial contributions, i.e. sponsorship. So then they finish up and they talk about the future outlook. And they say, while taking greater control of the revenue generating destiny is by no means a new concept to leading clubs, it's becoming more prominent in the current landscape as football and popular culture continue to converge, capitalising on international brand equity through investment in strategic commercial initiatives that cater to all fans will be key driving revenue for clubs. Liverpool, as an example, has invested heavily in its retail operations and now has physical stores in 21 locations globally. The global football fan expects to be catered for, and clubs will increasingly be required to better understand their key consumer groups and how they behave. So that's kind of where we're at with the money side of things. Real Madrid grossed over €1 billion in that season. And Liverpool have just broken the £700 million mark for the very first time and topped the English club's revenue. And yeah, here we are in January, selling Robbo for 3 million quid. Piss take. Imagine being a young player at this club, wanting to break into the team in hopes when Klopp left, bring Costas back, but not Elliott, tossers. Exactly. Can't do the deal for Elliott to bring him back. All we hear is, there's no clause in that deal. As if Villa wouldn't be more than open to sending him back. But we can do it for Costas. So we won't get rid of Chiesa and bring in, let's say, Harvey, who will probably get more game time and is certainly more likely to play. It's just so many of these decisions are brain dead, and I just don't understand them. And they're just winding me up. And that disconnect that we spoke about the other day is only increasing. How have you gone and taken goodwill and squashed it so quickly for so many fans? Who's making these decisions? And once again, like I've said many times, where you won't see them is front of camera facing up. They'll just keep throwing slot out for pressers. Meanwhile, Hughes and Edwards just move in the shadows. Not accountable to anyone except the owners. But of course, I assume you've spoken on Robbo. I think kind of makes sense. He's 31. Contract runs out this summer. Bring Tsimikas back from loan. Get some cash for Robbo and make Szoboszlai vice captain. Well, congratulations, James, because you're the first person I've seen that thinks it makes sense. It makes no sense. Bring back Robbo to get 3 million quid and weaken ourselves by bringing Costas back from loan, who's out of contract in a year anyway and isn't getting game time at Roma and isn't going to be the long-term successor. I strongly disagree with you, James, but of course I respect your right to share your view on it, and thank you for sharing your view. Sincerely, we might disagree on it, but I appreciate you taking the time to share your view. I just don't see a world how weakening ourselves mid-season intentionally is a good idea. I just don't get it, mate. But again, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Ryan Johnson said this has to be a joke, not Robbo. Unfortunately, it's not, mate. And I kept hoping and thinking that it might be, but no. Because what you can't measure with Robbo financially is the experience. We have a young, wet behind the ears left back who has no European top level experience in the Champions League before this year with the Reds and is still betting his way in and is getting better, no denying it. But again, am I supposed to believe that if we want, let's look at the game coming up against Karabakh. I would have had that penciled in as a perfect little game there for Andy Robertson to give Kirk as a breather, but still maintain high standards and high quality. I'm not feeling the same way about that potential scenario if it was Costas to come back in. Aaron said, I feel disconnected to the club for the first time. So, Aaron, I'm struggling with the disconnection I feel because of the coach. And now the disconnection I feel with the decision making. Because the one thing I didn't think I'd have to sit here giving out about this season was transfers. Genuinely. Of all the things that I thought I'd be sitting here discussing angrily this season, transfers wasn't one of them. And yet we've somehow managed to find a way to undermine ourselves. And that's, again, we haven't even spoken about the morale impact on this yet. In the dressing room or in the fan base. Of what losing Robertson mid-season is going to do. Because again, this is probably, pound for pound, one of, if not the most idolised, loved and cherished players we have at the club. And that lad's going to go mid-season. And we're going to have to sit there and watch him put on a Spurs shirt while Costas runs up and down warming up for us on the sidelines and think to ourselves that we've somehow improved our scenario. Can't see it. If you go back and look at the way we've let contracts go over the last few years, to the drama with the Salah and the Van Dijk situation and Trent last year, to the uncertainty still around Ibrahim Konate, now Andy Robertson, to then next year know that Van Dijk, Salah, Alisson, Costas and others are up, to then know our manager, our sporting director and the CEO of football's contracts are up at the end of next season. Like, truly, where's the long-term strategy? Where's the long-term plan? Where's the succession planning? And how is that succession planning being acted out in a sensible manner? Because what we're heading for is another summer of wholesale change where we'll be told when the failures start that it's to be expected because of the wholesale change. Remember this year, so many people said, well, maybe this is because of the change. And I said, no, I don't think so. But then we started to hear, well, maybe it's about to change personnel. So we start to accept it a little bit. And we're going to do that to ourselves again. Another summer, 5, 6, 7 changes when we could have done some of those in the winter, like Mark Gay, like maybe a Semenyo or another attacker. Why aren't we staggering this? Letting some of them bed in for next season rather than having a whole load of people come in. Jamie Kirk said, supported Liverpool for 40 years. Seems like there's a self-destruct button that keeps getting pressed every few years during my supporting life. I feel that, Jamie, mate. I absolutely agree. I'm feeling so disconnected, said Joey McDonald. And here comes the wind-up merchant. What about our unbeaten streak? What about it? It hasn't changed since yesterday, so what about it? Genuinely, like, I know that's bait. I'm well aware of it. Because 7 wins and 6 draws isn't exactly yee-haw stuff, is it? Because we're still 4th in the league, nowhere near challenging for it. We're still out of the League Cup. So the unbeaten streak, whilst the rot has stopped, it's yet to really yield tremendous results that'll show us that we are absolutely better. So that's the best answer I can give you. If losing Robbo means we establish good business for VVD, then I'm okay in letting Robbo go. It won't, though. It won't. Like, think about this. Do you think Spurs are idiots? Oh, well, yeah, you give us Andy Robertson for 3 million, so we'll knock 10 million off the conversation for Van de Ven. It won't make one iota of difference. Not a fucking ounce of difference. They're still going to want top dollar. And they're still going to think there's no way we can dress this up and sell it to a rival, our captain. Like, come on. Don't be so naive, mate. That's not going to make the situation to get Van de Ven any better. And he's still going to be a player that they demand upwards of £80 million for. So, yeah, I can't go into that. It seems like every time our club willfully do this to us, somebody has to say, but what if? What if? What if? What if? There's always a what if. What if it's a master plan? What if it does this? What if Arna this? What if they want rid of the manager? What if they're preparing the squad? How about just addressing what we're seeing and just focusing on the right now and the fact that this is the height of moronic behaviour? How about that? How about just addressing right in the here and now and not what might happen in next year, 6 months? Right here and now, we have fuck all defenders. And we're making it worse. We needed a centre-back on the last day of the market. We admitted that. And now here we are in January with the window open. And we've waved off Mark A to Man City. And even then, people said, 300 grand a week though, Craig. He's not worth 300 grand a week. But he's still gone to strengthen the rival. Antoine Semenyo, gone. Mohamed Salah, come back. We don't know how that situation's going, but we'll move on to talk about the bid that'll be coming in for him in the summer. It's, look, I don't understand where none of this is wise succession planning, because none of it makes sense. None of it. Like, we bring in young centre-backs and people are talking about, well, these young centre-backs, what if they're the future next year? What proof have we seen of any player being brought on, a youth player with Arna, and progressed? None. Zero. So again, as fans, I'm sick of us having to take leaps of faith all the time rather than dealing in the here and now. Because there's a post a minute ago, what was it this gentleman said? This. So Jamie said, supported the club for 40 years, and it seems like there's a self-destruct button that keeps getting pressed every few years. That's spot on. This isn't a decision made for success or for the benefit of the here and now. And anything about the long-term strategy has always had to be taken as a leap of faith. And there's always, us as fans, have to give the benefit of the doubt. And that benefit of the doubt rarely works out for us. Sticking plasters rarely work out for us. And no world, no way, no how is bringing Costas back over Robbo helping us or making us better. It's just not doable. There's just no answer that's going to say that that's right. It's weakening us. Saunders said not losing versus Burnley and Leeds. So impressive. No, look, to be fair on the unbeaten thing, I'd far rather a 0-0 draw than getting beaten 4-1 by PSV Eindhoven or 3-0 by Nottingham Forest or 3-0 by Crystal Palace. So, in some weird way, the unbeaten streak does have some merit to it. Some. But it depends on what we're measuring ourselves as and where the yardstick is. And at the start of the season, we're here. We want to be challengers. We want to be winning. We want to be competing. Now we're talking about down here, scraping into the Champions League again, hypothetically maybe winning it, and what about the FA Cup? But has any decision that's been made from the 1st of January to now been done so to help us win this season? Any decision? Letting Mark A go to Man City. Letting him sign Semenyo. Moving on Andy Robertson. Any of those decisions help Liverpool in the here and now? The answer to that is unequivocally no. Have you seen Liverpool make a bid for a single goddamn first team player in this window when we know we're in dire need and short? And the answer to that again is no. You haven't. So I refuse to take another leap of faith and hope, because I gave them the benefit of the doubt once in one summer, and I'm already regretting that 6 months later, when cheapness is once again shining through. The Liverpool prophet said, Craig, I fear we're heading back to mediocrity. I don't have a fear that we're heading back to mediocrity from the point of view of I think FSG run the club in a just enough sense, rather than is there anything we can do to be more successful? Guaranteed. I think it's keep that Champions League money coming in, which of course attracts the bigger players, which of course attracts the bigger sponsors. And I'm no misconceptions about how important Champions League football is. But again, I say, as fans, I don't give a fuck about qualifying for the Champions League. I care about looking like we can win it or making our best efforts to win it. I don't care about finishing 4th in the league. I care about finishing 1st in the league. And everything after that is a failure. And I refuse to be a fan that measures our success by Champions League qualifications or occasional trophies. We've climbed the mountain. We've got to the top. We don't even get to stay there and take in the view before we start falling down the opposite side again and have to start that climb back up. Where's the dominance? Where is the upside of the financial might we're supposed to have? How is a £3 million deal for Andy Robertson beneficial to anybody? End of year balance in the book. There's some stink off those Deloitte salary figures. Just whose wages or bonuses are we paying? Shenanigans. I really don't know the answer. And I've asked a couple of people what's included, and they don't know. And I mean, I've asked money people what's included in those wage figures, and they can't give me a definitive answer. Because they're trying to find the same answer. And that's why I asked them. Because I know they're of a similar mindset. On the low block thing, by the way, that Arne keeps banging on about, and he's been talking about it a little bit more. So let me take you through what he's had to say first, and then I'll take you through the numbers behind it. So Arne Slot on Steven Gerrard's low block comments criticism said, I haven't heard him saying it exactly, but Steven Gerrard has always been very positive and still is about Liverpool Football Club. He cares so much about it. I can only agree with him that I speak a lot about low blocks because we face a lot of low blocks. And if people ask me after the game my opinion about the games, I have to describe something. He also said he faced them when he played, and he was also one of the players who could unlock a low block because of the quality he had. A lot is being said about it, and maybe I should try to find other words or just simply not talk about it anymore. People now know. And maybe we don't face it anymore because Bournemouth has always been a very intense team to play against, and they'll be like that on Saturday. He says people ask him and he has to try to describe it. He was talking about after beating Marseille 3-0 in the Champions League, a great night that should have been one where he just showered praise on his team and his players and spoke about moving on and building on it. And he still found a way to shoehorn low block into the conversation. And say, once again, when we play a team that doesn't sit back with a low block, look how great we are. But that doesn't change anything, Arne. It just makes you sound like an idiot. Now, on that, is there any truth to Liverpool being treated differently to other teams? Kind of no. Arsenal are actually the team that average a team playing against them with the highest defensive line. Not us, Arsenal. And they're top of the league. So how's that working out for you, Arne? Why are they top of the league? You know the answer, don't you? It's because they're better at set pieces than we are, Arne. And you know that because you've already thrown Aaron Briggs under the bus and brought somebody else in who'll be probably soon thrown under the bus. But what our club haven't done is go out there into the world and get a specialist and bring them in. Like Arsenal, like Villa, like others. So Arsenal have played an average defensive line height against them of 30.53, and then comes Liverpool, Newcastle United and Bournemouth. Way down the list is Manchester City. So, again, Arsenal have had low block issues this season, Arne, but their manager, who we all laugh about, has found a way to get past them. And is perfect in the Champions League, and is top of the Premier League, and is still in every goddamn competition. Now, why might that be, Arne? Why might it be that Lego Head and his band of merry men can still be in every fucking competition, even with injuries? Let me have a think about that. Might that be, Arne, because unlike us talking about building out the squad, they actually built out the squad, and have done so with a lower wage bill than us. So, should questions not be asked about that? How is it that a club in London that would be expected to pay a higher living wage anyway have managed to build out their squad more than us, be top of everything that they're in, and not have to throw away competitions? But we do. We have to throw away the League Cup because you need 3 points against Aston Villa. We are the only... Poor us with the low block. But yeah, Arsenal have had a worse low block to defend against or play against and are still winning the fucking league. Again, just not adding up, is it? Joseph said, sad times, it's a changing of the guard gone wrong. You're absolutely right on the last part of this. That was the first part as well, Joseph. It is a changing of the guard gone wrong, mate. You know, I spoke about this the other day that I actually, kind of, before any of this stuff came up, it just hit me like that at the end of 2027, the last of the remaining heroes are gone, probably. Alisson, Virgil, and Mo. You know, probably the three biggest pillars of that success. Of course, there's Mane, there's Firmino, there's Henry, there's many, many others. Andy Robertson, all played, Trent, all played the role in the success. But if we're to talk about three definitive acquisitions, three definitive signings that built the pillars for us to become successful, it's those three. Alisson, Virgil, and Mohamed. And all three of those are out of contract next year. Have we succession planned adequately for the three of them, as you say here right now? No, we haven't. We don't know who the next defensive leader is going to be. We haven't got a fucking clue. We've signed Georgie Mamardashvili, but we've moved on Kelleher. So we don't really know yet. But that was always going to be a tough one, because Alisson's Alisson. And with Mohamed Salah, what have we done? Well, paid him more money and then watched as the manager fell out with him. And the club got bad PR over it. And then there's talk that the Saudi Pro League are going to make a move there in the summer anyway, because they have a list of 50 players that they're going to try and make a move for. And this has been widely written about as well. Ben Jacobs said, exclusive, Saudi Pro League targeting 50 foreign names in a new wave of business planned for after the World Cup. Salah, Lewandowski, Vinny Jr., Martinelli and Bruno all on the list. 2026 also likely to see Al Hilal sale and significant investment in Diriyah. So, if we have any inkling that Mohamed Salah could be off, why aren't we succession planning? Why aren't we succession planning for Virg? What the fuck are we doing? Raekwon said, call me crazy, but this feels like this is the last big FU to Klopp. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, but I can get where you're coming from, but I can't believe anyone's petty enough for that to be the case, you know. But we are talking about the spine of the team here, and you know we've sorted out. I'd say we've sorted out the center of the attack. Fair enough. We've sorted that out. We brought in Isak and Ekitike, and look, I don't think we can be displeased with that. But the rest of it, still don't have a DM and still don't have a central midfielder a year and a half after we started having these conversations about needing them. Rich Baldy said, Craig, even Darwin, who was poor, had a place in this team and had a great work rate. I'm not seeing the work rate of the past in this slot era. Thoughts? It's a tough one because I don't know if... See, when we think about the work rate of a Darwin and others, I think what we're usually talking about is defending from the front and occupying players and being just a general nuisance in a good way. And I feel it would be slightly unfair of me to say that the likes of Soboslai, Wirtz aren't putting in good shifts and covering good ground. But I think that the style of play and the way that we're trying to set up is a bit of a hodgepodge and doesn't make much sense and has taken away some of our attacking threat. Bournemouth have the highest turnover rate in the final third in the Premier League. So this game, in theory, is going to suit Arne Slot tomorrow night. And we should be looking to press the shit out of them because they're going to be looking to do it to us. They're going to be looking to force turnovers high up the pitch. And there's a reason teams do that. Like, I know sometimes we say football's overcomplicated, but in this situation it can be. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand why you press from the front. For a whole host of reasons. It's to put the pressure on the team to play around that press or to give you the ball straight back by going long. And we had incredible joy with that. And Arne spoke about the love and admiration of the way Paris Saint-Germain did it and are doing it. And then what does he go and do? Changes it all up into some bastard of a system. And I say bastard because I don't know what it's the child of. I don't know what it's modelled on. And we're still nowhere near our best. But we are unbeaten in 13. That is a fact. And the rot and the losses have stopped. But we're still not playing good. And we still don't have an identity. And we still don't have a connection. And the stadium still feels a bit eerie from people who are there telling me. And they were booing, but Arne didn't hear it. And then Arne decided himself that when everyone that was booing went home, they regretted it. He decided that because that made sense in his head. Now, I didn't make that up. He said that. That maybe when they went home, they decided it was too much. Or maybe they went home, Arne, and they went out and screamed in the back garden because they're sick of it all. And they're sick of going to games and seeing something that they love and something that they work hard to support being something that they don't recognise and they don't connect with. Maybe that's the case. And maybe the smatterings of booing that you heard were only there because of the respect that our fans have for a manager of a football club. And that for it to even get to that point, anybody that knows a damn thing about Liverpool would know that for it to get to that point, where even a handful are booing, it must be bad. Because that's not the Liverpool thing. That's not how the fans operate. That's not how they act. So to get to that point, after winning a fucking league, how bad must things be? And how bad must we all be feeling as a fan base for that to happen? But no, just a few of them who went home and changed their minds. Itachi said, I don't understand anything happening at our club. Leaving us short, ignoring 20 million Mark A, our vice-captain wants to leave, the Salah situation, Canada and so on, when we need another reboot in the summer. So, do you know what I hate about tonight? That people come on and sincerely, some of it's bait, but some people sincerely want to think the best of the club. And some people want to think that there's a reason to it and they're willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I hate that I have to kind of be the guy to try to burst that bubble and say you're misguided or you're naive or something along those lines. I hate to have to trample on the potential good feeling that somebody has because of the way I feel and the way those around me and that support Liverpool feel. I hate having to do that. But it is that level of goodwill that has allowed this shit to happen. And we keep talking about 1,000 cuts and all the small things adding up. Well, this is another one of them small things. Another decision that you could make an excuse for or you could weigh up in your mind. But how many of those little things have you had to make those type of decisions on? How many of those little, not quite enough, but, you know, in its own? You know, it's like the guy who shows up in court that has 50 charges, but all small charges, and the judge keeps going, last warning, you're on parole, one more time. Because they haven't done that bad enough to really get locked up. But there's been loads of little bits of, bit of robbing here and a bit of shenanigans there and you know, that's kind of how this feels to me. that they're not stupid enough to do something boldly dumb. But all the little things, they're all starting to stack up now into quite a hefty pile. And that wound is starting to become a little bit deeper for me. Without Dominic Szoboszlai, this season would be a real disgrace. I don't know. Look, on the Dom stuff, look, he's had a very good season. I'm very grateful for him being here. But, you know, I wonder, I'd love to be a fly on the wall of the dressing room. You know, because imagine you've just joined this club and you see Trent's gone, Robbo's going, Salah's fallen out with the manager, a club that had just won the league and now nowhere near challenge for it. You're just in the door. There's negativity about you because the team isn't living up to it. You know, where's the positivity and the good vibes? It feels like there's loads of little easy wins here and they're just somehow finding a way to take L's. Rich Baldy said Klopp had a connection with the soul of the club and Slot just doesn't. That's not fixable, even with winning. I don't think Slot gets what Liverpool is. So I slightly look at that a different way, Rich Baldy. I agree with you, but for a different reason. I don't know, or I don't think it would be fair of me to say that Arne doesn't get Liverpool or what it's about, because I'm sure he's a studious man that knows the history and traditions of the club. I think it's actually the other way. I think it's us that can't take to him, despite his best efforts. Because he seems like a good man, and nobody's trying to sit here and slander his character. But it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like people are happy with the coach. So we asked, would you sell Cody Gakpo for €75 million or £65 million in the summer? 78% of people said yes. Simple one on this. Do you want Slot as our head coach? Simple question. Because this will tell us about the connection or not. Because with Jurgen, people often say, would you have been, I want the manager out if this was Jurgen? I've got to ask that question quite a bit, and it's an understandable question. But I wouldn't have, for some reasons that are actually describable, and some that are probably indescribable, that are a gut feeling and an emotional attachment. And I would have been sitting here on a game-by-game basis being really unhappy about what we were seeing. But I'd never have turned on him. Never. Because I know he'd go to war for us, with us, has done, will do. And the fans with him. We built something as a trifecta, a fan base, a manager, a team. That is one of those immeasurable things that there isn't a graph, a chart, a statistic to tell you. And that's why the Anfield atmosphere and the special nights are only possible in a few stadiums around the world. Old Trafford has it. Anfield has it. But they only come when all of those three things are connected. If one of those are missing, you may have some success, but you don't have the life-altering, generational moments like the Barcelona comeback. That Barcelona comeback doesn't happen with Arne Slot. It doesn't. The fans wouldn't have gone into that stadium believing. The players wouldn't have believed it was possible. Only Jurgen. Remember, No Salah for that game. No Firmino for that game. I think Robbo went off injured. We're not right, but we believe. Like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain said, every time they went out on the pitch, they felt like they could walk on water and beat anybody. So those three things don't align at the minute. And that's a recipe for only the things that you can measure statistically. It doesn't allow for the spiritual stuff. It doesn't allow for the things that aren't quantifiable for fans. Hiding it at Spurs, coincidence, Robbo Jones? No, not at all. No coincidence, mate. None. Absolutely, there is no doubt in my mind that Johnny Hiding has gone in there, spoken with Spurs hierarchy, and they were looking for options. And he said, I can wholeheartedly recommend these guys. I've worked with them. They're brilliant. They're good characters. They're winners. No doubt about that whatsoever. And again, we sat back and watched as Johnny Heidinger went to Spurs. Like we sat back and watched as Mark Gay went to Man City. Like we sat back and watched as Antoine Semenyo went. Why was it that Lego Head was able to convince Zubimendi to come and join Arsenal, who hadn't won the league or hadn't won a Champions League ever and hadn't won the league in a long time? Yet we couldn't convince the same player to move to a club that went on to win the league that year and have won 6 European Cups. Craig, you should try and speak to Slot and view your complaints, because on this tonight it's just a waste of time. Then why are you here, David? Respectfully, mate. If you think it's a waste of time, why are you here? And also, respectfully, how do you think I'm going to air these views directly to Arna? Would you not agree, David, that if there's any chance of my views being aired towards Arna, and even at that it's minuscule, the best chance of that will probably come from a clip or something that happens tonight that will find its way, that he will see. So you think it's a waste of time. That's absolutely fine. No problem with that, mate. I don't, or I wouldn't be here. If I thought it was wasting my time, I wouldn't be here. If I thought it was wasting your time, I wouldn't be here. But what I am doing is allowing people to have a conversation, to vent, to have their say, to give their tuppence worth. So I don't think that's a waste of time, mate, personally. But like I said, if you do think it's a waste of time, cool. But again, you don't have to be here. Jamie said, the way you feel, you're the voice. I'm just a fella, mate. I'm just another Liverpool fan who feels sad. I don't claim to be or want to be the voice of anyone. I'm the conduit in our little community between the chat and the microphone. And I'll always try to be honest with you and carry your community with dignity. After that, I've never claimed to be anything other than just a fan. So, I certainly don't come on with the intention to waste anyone's time. Because I can assure you there are other things I could be doing if I felt that was the case. But truly, tonight, you know what, David? Tonight may be a little bit selfish, mate. In that tonight I might need you. And I kind of do. I need this tonight. For me. I need the camaraderie. I need the opinions. I need to vent. And I need to be amongst people who I think at least understand where I'm coming from. Because honestly, mate, right now, I don't feel pretty optimistic about things. And that's kind of snuck up on me a little bit, bro. Because, like I said, this was a summer leading to a season that I've never felt such an abundance of optimism amongst our fan base, or such a sense of we've arrived. We've got the big window, we've won the league, and I truly, truly, truly am lost for words as to how we're here in January, feeling this way. But I can certainly point a finger at where I think it's come from. So I guess, to come back to your question about whether that's a waste of time or not, I can only really answer for me, and I know I needed this, and I need this tonight. An actual comprehensive performance for victory the other night, fair play. If we're going to keep Salah for the season, we must get a centre-back and forward now in January. Yeah, look, the other night, mate, like you said, full credit. We gave it on the night, we give it again, full credit. It was a very good, accomplished European performance. Yeah, there's no arguing about that one. But like you said, if we are a serious team and we really want to be successful, I don't feel that appetite. Go on, make the fat jokes in your head. I've already made 2, so I'll excuse you. Yeah, I don't feel that there's that appetite from the club for a win. I don't. Craig, am I wrong in saying, in my opinion, we're the most emotional and passionate supporters on the planet? Oh, I don't know, dude. I don't know. We're certainly up there. There's a lot of great fanatical support. I always talk about, the incredible support in Turkish football and stuff like that. But what I would say is, most of the people who would gravitate towards Anfield Agenda would be people who it's pretty important to. It's beyond the casual, I can take it or leave it whether Liverpool do well or not kind of. I'd say the people that are gravitated towards my type of personality are probably the ones that are more ride or die kind of. This really is fucking it. Like, this dictates the moods and all, rightly or wrongly. And if I look at it as a fan and try to just say where's the desire to win, I just don't see it again. And I seen it in the summer, and I gave the credit in the summer, and fuck me, I wanted it to be the case. But from that one good window, we've somehow ended up here in a big ball of frustration. Slot needs his own PR team, digging his own grave, to Tipsy Dipsy. But look, on this one, on the situation with Robbo, this isn't going to be an Arne Slot decision. Because for as much as I think he should be fired and will lose his job, I don't for one second think that he thinks this is a good idea. I think maybe he thinks he can cope with it, perhaps at a push. But I certainly don't think in his head he's happy at the idea of losing Andy Robertson to bring back Costas, whom he wanted and was pushing out the door. I can't imagine for one second that he doesn't at least feel undermined by this. It'll be pitched as being done in respect of Andy Robertson. And that's because that's the easy play for them here. But again, what about what's best for Liverpool Football Club? Because this isn't what's best for Liverpool Football Club. Only individual performances save us this season. This team does not play for Slot. They don't want him. So we asked, do you want Slot as our head coach? So far, and it's still open, it's 80-20, but do have a vote on it. Itachi said, I feel you, mate. I can't believe what's going on. This isn't Liverpool anymore. Craig, mate, I'm a mod now for Fuzzy TV, Quasi TV, and Team Coppish, but you'll always be my favourite channel. I hope one day I can mod for you. Screw the haters. Again, the moderated decisions aren't one that I make. It's done by Keane and the teammate, and well done. Congrats on the other ones. The only one I know there really is Coppish, and good bunch of lads. But yeah, well done to you. But yeah, as I said, that's a decision that Keane and the team make, and yeah, I leave them to it. Wish Slot was watching. Great stream as always, Craig. Passionate as always. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate that, mate. Yeah. I feel... How are we all feeling about tomorrow? About the game against Bournemouth? And by the way, thank you to those that did watch the preview. If you haven't, it's up on the channel. And I did predict a Liverpool win. I went for a 2-1 win to the Reds. But how are we all feeling ahead of the game? Because, you know, we are now, what? 18 or so hours? 17 and a half hours away. I don't know. I feel kind of numb about it a little bit. I don't remember ever feeling as uninspired as I was after the Marseille win, when I know I should have been feeling something I wasn't feeling, and I hated myself that I wasn't feeling what I should have been feeling, what I've always felt on a big European win. So I don't know how I'm feeling about tomorrow. I want us to win. I think we'll win. But I still don't think things are right. I think Ali has failed the fans. Ali, as in Alison Becker? So unless there was, yeah, I don't know, David, if there was a mistyping or something there, mate. Nervous about the game. We'll wait and see. Think Robbo's situation is taken over. Not the game tomorrow, said Patrick Galvin. Levin said, I'm actually excited. Good. Genuinely glad to hear that, mate. All good. You don't want people like me here. Don't know what the fuck that's about. Don't even know who you are. And yeah, you're trying to say I don't want people like you here or something? Oh, I don't know, mate. Sorry if I've said something maybe that frustrated you, or maybe that was aimed at somebody else. Either way, I'm not really sure what it's all about. Craig, even a lady who's a United supporter might clock the content about us. She can't believe what's going on at our club. I think you know the young lady, blonde hair, Alice. Yeah, good content creator. I gather that's the person you're talking about. I mean, look, she'd be right. You know, anybody looking at it, I've got mess like when I talk to Lee Gunner about the club, he can't believe what's going on either. Like, so yeah, it definitely yeah, that definitely doesn't surprise me that others outside of our fan base would be confused by what the fuck is going on. Are you in the new studio? No. You'll know when I'm in there, mate. There would be no green screen, so you'll see a completely different background and a completely new setup. Yeah, don't worry. It'll be pretty clear when we're in there, but we're still a bit away from it, to be honest. I've never set a fast and hard date on it. I'm thinking early March, but you know, I'll excitedly let you know when that's approaching. Don't worry. Leona said, it actually breaks my heart with how bad it's got. I have serious questions for the sporting directors and the owners. What the actual... Itachi said, I'm not confident for tomorrow. We face low block and will create chances, but with no magic we won't score. To be real, I guess it'll be a draw. See, I actually think tomorrow's going to be a game that will play into our hands, because I don't think Bournemouth will try to play with a low block. I think that's not them. I think they'll try to press us from the front and they'll try to be aggressive. And, I think statistically they cover the most ground in the Premier League in a game, or they're right up there. So, yeah, I think this will be a game that will actually suit us tomorrow and suit the way Slot wants to play. So, yeah, I think this one won't be us being frustrated by a low block. So that's why I'm more confident that we'll get a win. But you know what game has me very nervous? Makes me very, very nervous next week, the thoughts of the Newcastle game. That makes me nervous. Big man, you make all Liverpool fans happy when you're on. Thank you. Appreciate that, Phil. Hopefully we don't have to call me big man for too much longer. The weight loss is definitely something that I'm on the road for 2026, but I appreciate the sentiment. David said, sorry, I meant Slot. Yeah, let me go back to your comment then. So Slot has failed the fans. Yeah, I just think he hasn't helped the morale sometimes with some of the ways he's discussed the situations. What's this one? So I'm just going through making sure I haven't missed that in my notes. So, there's a piece on Sky that said a different test at Bournemouth, and it says, in contrast, Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth prefer to defend on the front foot, ranking only behind Manchester City and Brighton for possession won in the final third. So Arne Slot may indeed not need to reference low blocks this weekend. Discussing the challenge he expects the side to face on the South Coast, he said, Bournemouth is one of the most intense teams in the league. In every running stat, they're either top or in the top 2, 3 or 4. You know you have to be intense yourself, and that's a lot to ask because we're the only team that plays in Europe that has 2 days rest, except for the ones that play Thursday. That's not for the first time this season, but not for the first time this season we've shown what we're able to do. So he's already bitching and moaning about the time in between games, which, to be fair, is no new thing. Klopp did it, every manager does it, I get it. But again, it's just one of another round of annoying things that he's been saying. This account here, Krish, said, exclusive on Curtis Jones. Spurs have made inquiries regarding the availability of Curtis Jones on loan with an option to buy. Jones' contract with Liverpool expires in June 2027 and Spurs are showing interest in signing him after the injury to Lucas Bergvall. Spurs would like to sign Curtis Jones on loan, a deal until the end of the season with an option to buy for around £30 million. However, Liverpool are not open to a move for Curtis Jones without a suitable replacement. They prefer to keep Jones with the club until the summer before making a decision. Liverpool are working on a new deal for Curtis Jones, but no agreement as of today. Could leave in the summer if a deal is not signed. So is this Curtis Jones' contract situation being played out in public then? Is this all part of a negotiation? Or because again, if Liverpool are to look to cash in on him, let's just say for argument's sake, doing so with 1 year left on his deal is again hardly great planning, is it? And again, how have we let another player get to this point? Another one in his prime, Jones, and we're letting him get down inside the last 18 months of his deal. Have we learned nothing? Alisson, Salah, Virgil, you can think about their age and try to say, well, maybe that's just a natural end. But again, we're talking about another fucking player who's right in their sweet spot, in their prime, and a local lad, and he's got, 18 months to go? How is this clever? Where's the protection of the assets? Rich Baldy said, great stream, Craig. Thanks. We will win tomorrow. I think we will as well. I feel comfortable about the game tomorrow. I'm going 2-1 for a win. Can you do a special podcast episode with Alice? I'm always open to doing content with anybody. All they have to do is reach out, like I've said before. So yeah, no props. I don't have any ill feelings towards many people, and Alice would certainly be somebody I'd have no problem doing content with. So yeah, just reach out and that could absolutely happen. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to say goodnight. Yes, I'm going to say goodnight to you all and say a thank you again. If you can, before you head off, do hit that like button for me. Really does make a big difference and helps push the stream of the channel out there. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Tonight, going to bed with a heavy heart, kind of sad about the Andy Robertson situation and some of the decision making at our football club right now. But tomorrow, we wake up, we focus on the game against Bournemouth, and we hope for those 3 points and then beat Karabag, and then we see what happens. But it's looking like incomings in the window are highly unlikely. Didn't think we'd be talking about outgoings, but hey, we'll be recording an episode of the podcast tomorrow night as well. So that'll be coming out on Spotify, and clips will be coming out on YouTube as well. So do keep an eye out for that one dropping early on Sunday. But until tomorrow, have yourselves a wonderful Friday night. Thanks for dropping in and having a chat with me. Appreciate you all. We'll talk soon.